Brawl Stars is finally getting a 5v5 mode that is coming into the game in the next update. I talked with the developers about that in a sneak peek on the No Time to Explain podcast. Plus, I straight up asked them, is Brawl Stars becoming too pay to win? That and Star Drops just got buffed. Let's get into it. Now first, let's talk about the brand new 5v5 mode coming to Brawl Stars. Now, I was the guest on the No Time to Explain podcast that just dropped on Brawl Stars channel, and if you want to watch the full 3 hours of conversation, there's going to be a link in the description, but I'll give you the cliff notes right here in case you don't want to spend the time. Now, in that podcast, I was given the option of selecting between two sneak peeks. Now, the two options they gave me were, of course, the new 5v5 mode, as well as the brand new... Come on. You know I can't tell you that. But in my opinion, I chose the most exciting of the two. Now, Danny gave us these details about the 5v5 mode.
In the next update, we'll have a 5v5 game mode. And
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're still experimenting on
Finally.
on how we want it to play. Like we're trying different modes, like we're trying Gen Grab, Brawl Ball, Wipeout, how they play out. And then maybe like the best one will actually be released to the community. But we also we don't want to just okay, so it's a Gen Grab, but now it's 5 players or 10 in this case. We want also to have some twist in each game mode, like that will make sense to make it a 5v5. So yeah, and then it will be more like an eventful thing, so it won't be in rotation. But that's it. 5v5 is finally coming to the game.
Of course, that is really exciting, but I do have some questions about it. Now, the biggest question that I have is, what is the map size that we're going to be playing this 5v5 mode on? I think a normal 3v3 map might feel a bit crowded, but maybe a siege size map would be just perfect. But also, what kind of twists are they going to add? Maybe there's some new ones that we've never seen. Maybe they're existing modifiers. We don't know. Regardless, I am beyond excited to try out the new 5v5 mode. I think that this is exactly what Brawl Stars needs. If they do this right, it is going to be insanely fun. Just the different comps that people are going to be able to come up with is going to be really exciting. And being able to play with 4 of your friends at the same time, although Poco quadruple tank. That might be interesting. Anyways, I don't even care. It's going to be so fun, and I'm here for it. There were some other hot button topics that we also discussed that I brought up to them. Now, note that this was filmed before the first Megapig event, or else I absolutely would have asked them about the lackluster rewards there as well. But I did ask them about the state of Brawl Stars and if they felt like Brawl Stars was becoming too pay to win. So I know that we're not diving deep into the upcoming changes with the Brawl Pass, which is smart because we haven't tried it yet. Let's give it a shot, see how it goes. But this topic does kind of broach it indirectly. So I know that there's a lot of players who feel like Brawl Stars is becoming increasingly more pay to win. And while, of course, people who pay to buy stuff in games should be rewarded for those things, at the same time, there's many, including myself, who don't like the ever-increasing power disparity between pay-to-win and free-to-play and paying players. Is there, what are your thoughts on this topic and, moving forward, how far down to this rabbit hole do we go? Now, it wasn't my job to put them on the stand and just go full Johnny Cochran on them.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
In fact, the topic of this podcast wasn't even supposed to be on what's happening right now in the game, is more community and the past of Brawl Stars, but I didn't want to go on here and just not ask them because I know that you guys want to know, and myself, I want to know as well. Now, to this question, this was Danny's answer.
Yeah, I think it's a good topic to talk about.
Sure.
Why is it bad that if you are willing to spend your money on a game to support it, why shouldn't we give you more? And if we don't have people supporting the game, then it's bad for everyone. Of course, we don't want to have more players being stronger than the free-to-play players, but also with the new pass, this is also not a reality because you only use certain number of brawlers to play, right? When you are playing a game, you play your 15 brawlers, and we are already giving more resources to the free-to-play players. So competitive, we are gonna be actually in a better scenario than we were before.
Now, I did counter his claim that it was better for all players because while my free-to-play account may be a fringe case, it's still applicable to a lot of players. On my free-to-play account, where I'm pushing all of my brawlers up high,
I see.
it's definitely not as good for me there because the
disparity between my account and a maxed out account is going to continue to grow, which I find a little bit frustrating.
And I also added that another thing that I didn't like about removing the option of buying the Brawl Pass for gems was just the overall feeling that it gives you to get the Brawl Pass.
Yeah, but that's like, I guess there's no other way around it. We just tank it and we are very honest about it. Like that's the nerve.
So while we may not have gotten the exact answer we all wanted, at the end of the day, they did respond, and at least we know where they stand. They aren't hiding anything. It's not like Clash Royale telling us no goal to upgrade cards and then bam, hitting you with the sucker punch. I mean, let's be real. They want to make some money, and to do so, they're giving free-to-play players a slight buff and paying players a huge buff. I've got some issues, but I'm going to hold off on that judgment until after we've all actually tried it and played it. I think that that's only fair. Also, is it fair if I ask you guys to go vote in my poll for your favorite brawlers? It'll only take you like 20 seconds, and your vote will be counted in an upcoming video. Now, another hot topic that I brought up was that hypercharges don't really feel like they're worth 5,000 coins.
Well, we still feel like hypercharge is too expensive, but because like whenever you're leveling up, like when you get your gadget at level 7, it feels so worth that extra 1,000 coins. It's like, oh, this is a really impactful thing. And then the gears are just like, what's whatever. Star powers, which cost twice as much of a gear, don't usually feel as impactful as a gadget. Sorry, I misspoke. So star powers feel less impactful than a gadget do. Depends on the star power, but for the most part. And then hypercharges, while are very cool, for 5 times the cost, they don't feel like they give you 5 times the fun. It's almost like the awesome factor is almost inverted a little bit between gadgets and hypercharges. Do you still feel that hypercharges are priced right? Could we possibly see a reduction in cost, or
I think
that's just it?
Now, their answer was pretty simple. If the ability doesn't feel like it's worth 5,000 coins, then rather than making it cost less, they would want to make the ability actually feel like it's worth the price.
Like, I don't know what the team feels about it, so like I'm speaking for myself, but I think that the team approach would be to actually make the hypercharge to feel the thing that you are missing instead of like decreasing the price. Because I think like economy-wise, I think we are in a good place right now, and it allows us to buff progression, which means that most of the player base will benefit from that, because most of the players don't even reach power 11 anyway, right? So like they reach with some brawlers. It's like if we give room to ourselves to buff progression in a general way, because hypercharges cost this price, it's actually beneficial for the whole community actually, even if some has to pay the price of the hypercharge. But yeah, I think it's better like if you fix the design rather than the price, because at least we are in a good place economically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I'm all for. If they can actually make hypercharges feel like they're worth 5,000 coins, like, yes, I am down to pay this because it's going to be that good, I'm all for it. Now, that's not to say that they're actually going to change anything. This is just Danny talking. But if this is the approach they take, then I am all for seeing what they come up with. Next, I brought up, emphatically I might add, that we need a coin buff.
When are we going to get a buff to coins, Danny? Like every time I go to upgrade a brawler, no, I want more. We want more because we always want more, Danny. Hey, like whenever I go to upgrade a brawler, I don't even look at my PowerPoints. It's like I know I have enough of those. It's pure. The bottleneck is pure coins. Give us more coins. For the love of God and everything that's holy, give us more coins.
And I think Danny's answer actually gives some pretty good context, as the way he explained it, personally, I had never really thought of it before in that way.
When people ask for a buff, they want to see like a clear buff in Brawl Pass, which is like a recurrent thing that you can always see how in the long term is getting buffed, right? We want to run more crazy events like the shooting star drops or things like that. It's like we want to have like this, budget of resources that we can include in those events to make those events better.
So like you're just saying that basically like instead of like a static, non-stop buff, you're having bigger special events, and that would be the buff to those things.
This actually made me look at things in a new light, and perhaps you're like me and you've always seen the special events we get, like challenges, coin shower, etc., just like as a bonus. That's how I've always seen it, but that's not how the devs see it. They see these things as progression-related events, and adding more of these is their way of giving a buff. Now, I like and I dislike that at the same time. On one hand, it's awesome to have some extra fun things to do in game. That's always good. Now, on the downside, it's not the same as a static buff, because You have to participate in these things while they're happening, and if you don't, well then you lose out on progression on this buff. This also gives me extra motivation to play in as many of them as I can, because realizing this, at least from the dev's perspective, they count this as part of your progression, and I need to play as many of these as I can to make the most of that. Now, the next thing we talked about is actually something that just got changed. Now, I'm not saying this change was spurred on by the discussion we had, although I guess that's possible. I don't think that that's the case.
But, Star drops, which I think Star drops are pretty great. If you ask over on Reddit, they probably would disagree with me, but I think that they're fine with the exception of the cosmetics in there. Because while it's always cool to get a cosmetic and, it's, worth something, it always feels like I'm going to get that one cosmetic that I don't even, it's like, oh, cool. I got this profile icon that I will never use. Why couldn't you make like a rarity token? Like you get an epic skin token in this where you can go over to the catalog and pick out whatever skin you actually want so that reward actually feels like a reward and not a disappointment.
Because like if you give like exactly what you want, you pick like, I want this ping and this, and then you never buy again. It's like the thing is that we are allowed to give more resources because of the randomness. Because like what we see is that people buy the skin they want and they are cool. Like, but hey, we have like so many skins, like can you buy other ones as well?
Their response basically boils down to this. If they gave you a token to get the cosmetic that you wanted, then it may cause you not to spend money in the game in the future on that skin. Now, I never really connected these two dots before, and I can see what they're saying, as if, for example, you really wanted a Headless Rider Stu, and you got a token, you would never buy it in the future, and thereby possibly losing them some money. And while I understand that, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, just like randomizing rewards to protect the possibility of future purchases. It just kind of feels bad. But on the other hand, I guess this is where bling comes in, and you can choose the cosmetic that you want. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the most elegant solution to the problem of the disappointment of like getting a legendary star drop and then ending up with some craptastic reward. Paula doubled down on my feedback when she said,
it's true that what I don't like about Star Drop is that the pool of rewards is so big.
Yeah.
It's so like you don't know what to expect. So okay, you get the rarity and it's like, oh, it's gonna be mythic. But within mythic, you get so many different things, possibilities that is like I'm not sure if I'm excited because if I can get so many things that like and then I never get what I want because I want I want a skin and I never get a skin, or I want a pin or an emote and I never get that.
And she makes a very good point here. And as I was writing this script, Brawl Stars announced some changes to Star Drop, so let's check out what they just did. They just announced that Legendary Star Drops will no longer give gadgets, pins, sprays, or profile icons, that those will move to Mythic Star Drops only. Now, Legendary Star Drops will only contain Star Powers, Hypercharges, or Brawlers between Epic and Legendary rarity, as well as Super Rare and Epic skins. Now, you can still get resources from Legendary Star Drops, but only if it's a fallback reward, like if the game randomly decided to give you Shelly's, Clay Pigeons gadget, but you already had it, well, then you'd get the 1,000 coins in exchange for that. But it'll always give you a item rather than resources unless you've already got that item. Which sounds absolutely great, except for there's a catch. They said to be able to make this change without increasing the total reward distribution, we had to rebalance resources in other rarities. So coins and token doublers were slightly nerfed, but gadgets, star powers, and hypercharge probabilities got increased. Okay, so this sounds pretty good on paper, and I like the changes, and I'm hoping that they make Star Drops feel more meaningful. I mean, I guess you're going to get a little bit less coins and token doublers with the lower rarities, but for me, that more than makes up for the disappointment that you would inevitably feel when you got your Legendary Star Drop, and it was something crappy. Now, there's some other topics that were pretty interesting too, such as there will most likely not be a Brawlies award ceremony this year as they just don't have the time to produce it. We also talked about the process of adding my custom 1 million challenge into the game and how that came about, as well as just a host of other topics, from the community possibly being toxic, which I don't think the community is too toxic. You guys definitely are too strong sometimes, but I know it's because you're passionate about the game. I get that. I still think that you probably need to work on how you communicate that sometimes, but and if the community is too toxic, I honestly think Brawl Stars is slightly to blame for this as well. I mean, they put a clown pin in the game full well knowing that other people were going to troll each other with it. So, you know. Now, again, if you want to check out the full podcast, the link is in the description. There is a lot more that we talked about that I didn't cover in this recap video. I didn't know if you guys would be down to watch an hour-long video, but, you know, if you want to watch 3 hours, you can go check that video out. Peace out.